Yes, sir.
Why did Jonah, why is it that Jonah didn't want to go to Nineveh?
Because he was disobedient.
Because he was disobedient. Y'all want to get all these little cute little church answers. You got that together? Play it for me, crank it up. This is why all these people did what they did. Give it to me. So what?
Is what describes you. What you wanna be. It just may not be what the people see.
Stop. Huh? I was about to throw your light, get your lighters up. How smart she gonna get them in. He said it's your attitude that causes you to do the things you do. He said your attitude, what did he say about it may not be what the people see? What did he say, Harris? I know Harris now. What did he say?
They will see what the people see, but it inspires you.
That's the 1970s theologies back there. Wait a minute. Anything about the 70s? How about Harris? They said it's your attitude that determines the things you do. Yeah. Your attitude is the paintbrush of the mind. Some of us paint gray every day. Oh, I'm only just a bill. You need to add some colors, some brightness, some joy. I'm only just a bill. Your attitude is the paintbrush of the mind. You need to change your mind, change your attitude, change your life.
Yeah.
That David had the wrong attitude. He said he patted himself on his back, said, I've been good, I've been faithful, I don't need to do what I'm supposed to do when the kings is going to war. I'm going to chill this time. Yeah. And David was somewhere he had no business being. Then he seen something he had no business seeing. He slipped off into sin. And the Bible talks about the deceptiveness or the deceitfulness of sin. It'll cause you to lie to yourself.
That's right.
And it'll make you have a nasty attitude towards things you should have a good attitude towards. Ever been at the grocery store and you see some ungrateful little ingrate? No, I want this. No, I want this. Are you happy? And you get that and you're like, yeah, I like to touch his soul. Look at him. Some of these kids need some Dr. Pepper, man. They need some nice little touchdown in the run. We can clean up, but
That's right, man.
a kid with a bad attitude gives you a bad attitude, don't it?
Yeah.
You look on, they got nice shoes on. Mama got big old grocery cart full of food and all that, and you clowning and acting fool and ungrateful. Your attitude determines the things you do. I don't want to go around telling everybody that's why we're playing the arcades and everything. Let's see, that's the what's that one club in Cornell? What was that? Golden Nugget. 20 Men's, Church of 20 Men's. You know, I was going way back when I ain't been in the club. Sarah had a bad attitude. Her lack of faith, a lack of patience molded her attitude to where she wanted to help out God, and she didn't even realize you asked another woman to come into your bedroom.
Yeah.
And then turned around, and when she conceived, Hagar said she despised. She just looked at her like, she started dogging her out.
Yeah.
And put her out. It's a woman of God with a nasty attitude. And you having a nasty attitude, who reaped the benefits of Sarah's nasty attitude? Hagar and her son. Some of the things that we constantly hear is about the horror stories that people experience, that what they call, when I was going to church. I was going to church and the pastor did this. I was going to church and this wife did that. I was going to church and the deacon donut did this. And it cause what people do to separate them from the love of God. Somebody say your attitude.
Your attitude.
And then lastly, Jonah. Jonah had a nasty attitude towards the Assyrians. Nineveh was the capital of Assyria. I believe it's in Genesis 10. It talks about Nimrod. Nimrod was a great hunter. Said he was a giant. Some theologians said that Nimrod was a black man, and that he built 4 different cities, and one of those cities was Nineveh. Nineveh was the capital of Assyria. And Nineveh, not Nineveh, the Assyrians were known for their brutal tactics in warfare. Their main focus was to psychologically get into the mind of their enemies and fear in your heart so that you don't even want to come against them. They would do horrific acts of brutality when it came to warfare. They started the movement of impaling men while they were alive. They would take a spear, I don't know what they said, but they would impale them while they was alive and hang them up like this. They would take swords and peel skin. They would fillet the skin off your body with a sword. They're the ones that, they had chariots back then, but I believe it was the Assyrians that started the spikes in the chariot wheel. So when they come through and just maul your legs off. You ever seen that, what's the favorite movie? Ben-Hur. Yeah, yes sir, yes sir. So they came up with all these different tactics of warfare, and they were known for being brutish, savage people. And when the Israelites, or the Hebrews, had conflict with the Assyrians, there were some Hebrews that were caught in captivity, and they cut the captives they had, they cut them in half. So Jonah had an alt with Nineveh because of the history of the Assyrians and the Jews, or the Hebrews.
That's good.
So this was the foundation of his attitude of unforgiveness towards the Assyrians. That when God called him to do a work, he told God no. He's supposed to go east to Nineveh. He went west to Joppa.
That's up.
We get a definition of attitude. Attitude is a settled way of thinking or a feeling about someone or something. Typically, one that is reflected in a person's behavior. One of the synonyms of attitude is a viewpoint or outlook, a perspective, a stance, a standpoint, a position, an inclination, a temperament, an orientation, approach, or a reaction. Let me give you some famous quotes about having a good attitude, or just attitude, period. People hear the words you say, but they feel the attitude you display. This is by John C. Maxwell. Your attitude is the paintbrush of the mind. So if you're always gray, add some color to it. Somebody say amen. Amen. Reject the sense of injury, and the injury itself will disappear. I'm going to say that slow. Reject the sense of injury, and the injury will disappear. We're not talking about a physical injury. We're talking about a spiritual or an emotional injury. Some folks can get offended and get hurt. They will memorialize that pain or that situation. You don't understand. And if you're stuck in the past of the injury, you can never embrace the blessing of your present.
Yeah.
And your future is sabotaged.
Yes,
because Paul said, this is one thing I do to find success. I forget those things which are behind me. You can't forget it, but you cut the cords to what happened to you in the past.
Yeah.
I give God glory for my today, for this is the day that the Lord has made, and I'm going to press towards the mark of the prize.
Yes, sir.
Yesterday is not yours to recover, but tomorrow is ours to win or lose. Somebody say attitude.
Attitude.
A positive attitude gives power over your circumstances instead of your circumstances having power over you. You have a whole industry. You have a whole market that's opened up to professional speakers or positive speakers. You have a generation that's so down in the dumps. Go on YouTube or Facebook. They got all these little made up little classes and institutions. You want to be a public speaker? You like to make 6 figures a day? Come to learn how to make folk happy.com. And everyone's on this positive speaking, and where everyone needs to be boosted up and encouraged to do their job, to be happy for the day, to stay in their marriage, to love their children. They need cheerleaders. You can do anything, sing all. Y'all know about that. Everyone needs to be, not everyone, forgive me, Lord. There's this influx of people that are designed to establish jobs and being public cheerleaders. Somebody say attitude.
Attitude.
Let's look at Jonah for a second. Jonah, which name means dove. His name is totally opposite from his character. Jonah, who came from Gath, Heber, and Zebulun, was one of the earliest prophets close behind Elisha, in the place of the Old Testament. Jonah's story is told in this short. It's only 48 verses in the book of Jonah, but a powerful book. There's 6 outlines I'm going to cover in the book of Jonah. Somebody say his attitude.
Attitude.
Jonah rather died than obey God. His pride and faulty spirit came before a fall. Jonah needed to repent. Jonah needed to repent and be revived, to bring forth revival. And the preaching of Jonah was contingent on Nineveh's salvation. The preaching of Jonah was Nineveh's salvation and transformation for a season. In 1891, there's a fellow named James Bartlett. He's a 30-year-old sailor. They call him the modern-day Jonah, near Franklin Islands of South America. He was a sailor they was fishing for this whale. They hit him with 2 harpoons. The whale was so big it rocked the boat, and this young man fell off. He fell off, and the whale swallowed him. They pulled the whale out of the water to the sea. They said it was almost 3 days. What pipe 3 days? Almost 3 days. They cut the belly open. He is wrapped up like a cocoon and still alive. They said, I forgot the acids that's in the stomach of the whale, but it had him so bleached he looked like Casper the Friendly Ghost. They said his skin was all wrinkled up, but he survived. He survived being in the belly of the whale. So where some people want to teach that the story of Jonah is fictitious, or just for the purpose of telling the story, we have a testimony how someone had been swallowed by a whale and survived. So somebody said, I'll take it literally.
I'll take it literally.
Well, I do anyway. I don't know about you. Nineveh is one of the oldest cities of the Assyrian Empire. It was destroyed by a coalition of Babylonians and Medes in the 1612 BC. It happened to be an important religious century for the worship of the goddess Ishtar. So after the Tower of Babel, Nimrod built these cities. One of the major empires, world empires, was Egypt and then Assyria. One of the major empires, and all empires had their beginning, had their reign, and had their fall. Let's go to, I kind of mentioned that. Time. Let's go to Jonah. So we got to do a little reading. Go to the book of Jonah. Let's start reading a little bit of that. When you get it, say, I got it. So y'all waiting on me. Okay. Someone start reading the first verse for me.
Now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before me. But Jonah rose up to flee unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord, and went down to Joppa, and he found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare thereof, and went down into it, to go with them unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord.
Stop for a second. Where under heaven can you get away from the presence of the Lord?
Nowhere.
The Bible says to leave sin, you would have to leave the earth. Where can you go? But we're talking about an attitude. We're talking about an attitude. Usually, when we talk about prophets, we talk about the word of the prophet that God gave them. This story is in particular talking about the prophet. He had developed this ongoing unforgiveness, strifeful, malice attitude towards a certain ethnic group that when he seen them, he seen one of them, he judged all of them. All them Assyrians ain't no good. All them Assyrians sell dope. All them Assyrians don't take care of their kids. You ever heard the story before? He had this nasty attitude because of what his people been through with these group of people. That when the word of the Lord came to give him an assignment, he said no. He's supposed to go east, and this man went west. Something bad got to happen that you have no desire to be in God's presence. That is proof text that something's wrong with your heart. And I've seen that. It's time it's time to come together and pray. I want to talk. I want to pray. We're gonna, and I've done it in the flesh. Come on, let's praise the Lord. I don't feel like praising nothing. I want to go eat a donut and some coffee. I don't want to do nothing. This is a time to reverence and worship the Lord. You got all things in mind. And she should have said it the way she said it to me. And I feel like she disrespected all this. We in the presence of the Lord. I feel like she disrespected me. And I think she need to get herself together. Out there, I'm the head of household. And you don't, no. Wrong place, wrong channel, wrong time. All that have breath, praise ye the Lord. Nope. And this is why, but let me say this. The Bible says to keep your foot in the presence of the Lord. Now, some people can do some stuff that'll make you rebel. And you'll be like, listen, first of all, you can't make me do nothing. Okay? So when it comes to coming in God's presence, it's the same protocol when Moses came in God's presence. He said, don't come to me any kind of way, son. Take the sandals off. Because where I am is holy ground.
Yes, sir.
So there's a certain reverence and a certain respect that we need to have. But when our attitude ain't right, it don't make no difference. It makes no difference. I've seen people cut their nails, pop bubble gum, and write out grocery lists and talking and all that. And it's like, man, what are you doing? Where's your mind? Talked to one sister, she said, we was going to buy, I asked her a question. I asked a question, I gave the answer. This is within 5 seconds. I gave the answer, then I told her to repeat the answer. She couldn't remember it. And she got offended because I asked her to answer. None got offended because I asked her to read. She got mad and left. How you gonna ask me to read? I just asked you to read. I guess she couldn't read it well. She got a pen and letter. But I asked the sister, I just gave the answer. Well, my mind wasn't here. I said, well, where'd it go?
Yeah.
She said, my body was here, but my mind was somewhere else. So you can physically be here and mind be somewhere else. What stimulates your attitude for you to be like that? You got to know the origin of what's wrong with you. You got to know your strengths and you got to know your weaknesses. Now, I tell young men all the time, they didn't stop dating good-looking women because you got married. There's beautiful women everywhere. But there's beautiful women and then there's your type. When I see my type, I govern myself. Because I have a natural attraction towards my type. Don't ask me what my type is, I ain't none of your business. Don't ask me. Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. There you go.
I know that's right.
But when I'm able to govern myself, I'm good. But if I got the wrong attitude, then I don't care about governing myself. I don't care how I carry myself. And that's how you find yourself being somewhere you haven't no business being, seeing something you haven't no business seeing. And before you know it, somebody get killed or somebody get hurt. And somebody say your attitude. So this man tells God no. We ain't gonna read through all this because my lungs is kind of big. And when I talk about attitude, let's go down to the 3rd verse. No. I'm sorry. Let me read this. Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, arise and go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness has come up before me. Kind of like in the Tower of Babel. So the same thing. The wickedness of this world has come up before me. Let us come down and see that what we hear is going on. But Jonah rose up to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord and went down to Joppa and found a ship going towards Tarshish. So he paid the fare, therefore, and went down into it, and to go with them to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. But the Lord sent out a great wind into the sea, and there was a mighty tempest in the sea, and that the ship was like to breaking. And the mariners were afraid and cried every man unto his God, and cast lots and wares that were in the ship unto the sea, to lighten it of them. But Jonah was gone down into the sides of the ship, and he lay and was fast asleep. Now Jesus did that, but he ain't Jesus. This man, have you ever been so depressed you didn't care about nothing?
Yeah.
Jonah was so vexed, upset that how long will you sleep, O slumber? Now Jonah is supposed to be the prophet of God, and he's not sober towards danger. As a matter of fact, it's because of Jonah this strong wind has come upon the innocent.
Yeah.
These mariners didn't do anything. This wind, this trial, this test, this trouble that came because of Jonah's disobedience.
Yeah.
And whoever was close to Jonah got a sample of what he was going through.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in the presence of someone who was cursed?
Yeah.
Let me tell you what cursed folk look like. They get into your car and they break your door handle. You give them a ride to the store, you get pulled over by the police and get 17 tickets. In the world, you go to the club with them and you back to back, you got to fight the whole club because you with somebody that's cursed. I ain't gonna say the brother's name. I'm telling you, one time the brother got in, take him around the corner, take him over here. Whose house is this? Yeah, flip, pop, pop. I said, man, are you? He got in the car with me, told me to take him to an address. He pulls up and get the shooting at the house in my car. So, when you fool with cursed folk, sometimes some of the curses can fall upon you. And those Marines are about to lose their life fooling with Jonah. So the captain goes down. So the shipmaster came down to him and said unto him, what meanest thou, O sleeper? Arise and call on thy God. If so, be that God will think upon us that we should not perish. Now I find it amazing that they serve a different God, but they got the most sense to pray at the time of trouble than the prophet. Then said they unto him, tell us, we pray thee, for whose cause this evil is upon us? What is thine occupation? Whence comest thou? And what is thy country? And what people art thou? And he said, I am a Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, Yahweh, which hath made the sea and the dry land. Then when the men exceedingly was afraid, and said unto him, why hast thou done this? For the men knew that he had fled the presence of the Lord, because he had told them. Then said they unto him, what shall we do unto thee, that the sea may calm unto? Take me up, cast me forth into the sea, so shall the sea be calm unto you. And for that my sake, the great tempest is upon you. Now, was this a noble statement that he said, throw me into the sea and let me die so y'all can be saved? Was that noble?
Nah.
No?
But trying to commit suicide.
No. Why did he say that? This man had allowed himself to get so low and so cantankerous that I'd rather die before I fool with the Assyrians.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll die before I fool with the Assyrians. And Jonah's not realizing that you so focused on who you hate, you don't realize that you're telling God with a bold face, I ain't doing nothing you say. I don't think that's his mentality. Skip you, God. I think he's so focused on his unforgiveness, he don't realize that he's saying, skip you, God. Your attitude determines the things you do. This is why we meditate on the scriptures day and night, so we can be like the trees planted by the rivers of water, because we want to have the right attitude as kingdom citizens. Because you can allow circumstances to take you down so low that you become hopeless. The Bible says hope deferred maketh the heart sick. I was telling them in the class earlier, we said that love can be measured by what you give. God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. So I gave the analogy, I say this all the time, because I know youngsters like that. Baby, I love you. Baby, I love you. Won't work no job. Baby, I love you. Baby, I love you. The least you can do. If I don't have no job, come home, house gonna be clean, dishes washed, I'm making some fish sticks, something. I'm gonna make sure that I show some form of worth and appreciation. That I'm not sitting on Xbox, don't make it happen, baby. It's a little cold outside, better turn that defrost on, it's a little cold outside.
Yes.
Baby, I love you won't work. Baby, I love you won't give you. Love is measured by what you give. Selfish folk don't want to give nothing. Selfish folk, a lot of times, have the wrong attitude. Jonah was so selfish and what he wanted to do, and allowing his attitude to determine his decisions, he didn't realize that he was telling God no. That God, the Bible says, he designed a fish to swallow him up. I hate it. This is universal rule. A lot of times the world don't want to tell the whole story, but the only thing that will snap you out of the spirit of stupid is affliction. I'm going to say it over here because y'all ain't looking at me. The only thing that will make you sober of your wrongdoings is affliction, is trouble, is consequences. I'm in the school district where we got kids that are able to disrespect their teachers, do everything under the sun, and there's no consequences. You're telling a lie that you can grab a hot iron and not get burned in this area. And then you step outside of the school and grab a hot, oh, it burned me. Yeah, it'll burn you up. Yeah, it's going to learn you. They was over here lying to you.
Yeah.
Some of us like to use certain slogans to mask that we're cool. How you doing? I'm blessed and highly favored of the Lord. And we say these cute little sayings, but I hear what you're saying, but your attitude shows me what you're saying. And beloved, we have to change our attitude towards one another. We have to change our attitude towards God and married couples. If we used to do data research, we'll see this, how marriages was back in the day, how it's progressively getting worse because of convenience, because of technology. I think the Amish people got it right. The only thing that builds character is work, is a rigorous regimen that you do every day. You got grown men that don't know how to work.
Yes, sir.
Work builds an endurance to go through the long haul. Folk get mad. I'll say folk, I won't say no names. I'm trying to do right. Folk that get married ain't married 4 months. He won't do this, she won't do this, wanna quit. Boy, you been married 4 months, boy.
Yeah.
You ain't bought a ring, you ain't even paid 4 months worth of lights. You ain't gave nothing. You ain't doing no pressure.
Yes, sir.
No pressure. Got married, moved from his mama's house and got married. There's no pressure paying your own lights. Keeping insurance on the car. I'm telling you, I had to grow up. When you get something for nothing, it poisons the soul.
Yes, sir.
Cause I didn't go through, my mama worked 2 jobs to keep everything up. She married a dude that didn't know anything about his manhood, his purpose. He was an alcoholic. And when you don't know your purpose, you can bring more weight and more damage than you can do good. And she concluded that this ain't gonna work. And if I'm gonna be sad and broken and this, I can do that by myself. I don't need no help in that. So she cut him off. I got to pay light bill, cut him off. She worked at 7-Eleven where they was robbing them joints every other week. And she worked at a job. She worked 2 jobs. I did not know how she drove the car, made the car payment, made the insurance, and had money to get it fixed when you needed the fuel pump, tire fixed. I just seen we was rolling. I just seen that the car was there. I just seen that there was groceries there. So when it was time for me to embark on this responsibility, I seen it, but I didn't walk it out.
Okay.
So I like to ride, but they want the insurance payment again?
Yes, sir.
I just paid this joint last month.
Yes, sir.
What's that shrieking noise? Need some brake pads. Oh, okay. I got another 3 months to ride.
Yes, sir.
Doing stupid stuff because I was irresponsible. Blessings don't make you responsible. Responsibility makes you blessed. Because when you know, when you can go get it and work for it and take care of it, there's an appreciation that comes with it. But when you get something for nothing, it develops this sense of entitlement. It develops a nasty attitude like you're supposed to do this for me.
All right.
You're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. Jonah had the wrong attitude towards the wrong one. Pastor Robinson, I get it wrong. I get an attitude with you. We can get it together. But Mike, I get an attitude with you. We can get it together. You might not want to hold no attitude towards God. Might want to get that together. The scripture says, after he swallowed him up, that it was from the belly of hell, not the well. He said, from the belly of hell, I cried unto the Lord. It took affliction for Mr. Jonah to get his snap back, but to get his attitude right. It's something about trouble that makes you bring all things back to remembrance. My mama told me, son, you got to keep insurance in the car. Son, you can't be riding around with all them thugs in the car. Soon I get to jail. Mama told me this. Soon I get to jail. Everything she said come in high definition. But while I was rolling, while I was kicking, I couldn't hear anything she said.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Some about them bars closing.
Yes, sir.
And CO come by. Want some coffee? Yeah, nope.
Yes, sir.
That bologna with no mustard, that old roll, no coffee, no cream, no sugar. I said, I don't like this. thought I was Leno Brown. I got behind the wall, found out I wasn't what I thought I was.
Mm-hmm.
Something about affliction will make you catch a snap.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, Jonah had to go through that traumatic experience for him to prioritize what was most important.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to just bring the story to a close. Jonah, because of his attitude, didn't want to obey God. But what God called him to do was save 120,000 people from losing their life.
Yeah.
Nineveh's salvation of wicked people. These were a wicked people.
Yes, sir.
And God was gracious towards them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
They were considered the northeast slums of the state.
Mm-hmm.
But God had a plan for them.
Mm-hmm.
The plan being executed was contingent on his prophets.
Mm-hmm.
On his prophet. But his prophet had the wrong attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And the wrong attitude at the wrong time can bring a catastrophic event that some people can't recover from. So he goes to Nineveh. He preaches. He don't preach much. He said, 40 days, God going to destroy the earth, get yourself together. And the king put everybody on a fast.
Yes, sir.
Because what was brewing in the background was the Babylonians and the Medes. They were building up their forces and they were engaging, but Nineveh was on their way on the downfall. Assyria was on their way on the downfall. And it's something about when you've been doing dirt. I've talked to all kind of folks. I got homies that have passed away. I got friends that did big long bids in the pen. And every time before they got locked up, before they got shot, warning came before destruction. I had a friend of mine that sold big dope. He came and told me, he said, man, it was a drought. Some girl got caught in Chicago. Did nobody have no dope in the city? And he had 9 ounces. And some dude came by his house because, well, we know who did it because the only person knew what he had. They sent a goon squad to his house and said, we came in, was going to kill everybody, and was going to take the 9 ounces till I seen your truck. These folks are so wicked. They sending out hits like, you know, UPS shipments. Just give you the address and tell you what it is and just go kill everybody. This junk is wicked. Mm-hmm. He said, I came to get to work and kill everybody till I seen your truck. Mm-hmm. Watch your back.
Yes, sir.
I told him, I said, you got enough money, you can start a janitorial business, blah, blah, blah. Get out the game.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He said, man, you right. But then he go back, he said, I'm going to hit it one more time. And that one more time was his last
Yes,
time.
sir.
And the thing about it was, I was supposed to be in the house, but I was over her house chilling. And I said, I'm not going this time. And they killed everybody up in the house. Warning always comes before destruction.
Yes, sir.
And that warning is contingent on the messenger. So, Jonah preaches. He don't say much. 40 days, the king put everybody to fast. Carl, dogs, cats, gnats, women, everybody fast. So, I'm going to St. Louis. Everybody, everybody was fasting. Because their humility, their consecration was contingent on changing the judgment of God. Was everybody fast? God doesn't destroy the city, and Jonah gets mad. And then he tells you the reason why he didn't want to go to Nineveh. See, God, he quotes a scripture out of Exodus. I knew you was gracious. I knew you showed them folks grace, and I wanted you to kill them. I can't stand those raping, stealing cars, won't pay taxes, judging folk. His mentality, nasty attitude. So God builds this gurge, or this bush, that gave him shade. The sun was out, gave him shade. And then he rested. Then the next day, worms came and ate it away. He said, he got mad and said, God just killed me. You see this dude's attitude? He said, why? He said, is it right for you to be mad, Jonah? What did you have to do with the gurge? Gourd, the gourd. What did you have to do with the gourd? You didn't make it. You didn't invest in it. That gourd was grace. You had nothing to do with it, but you enjoyed the benefits of it.
Yes, sir.
The reason why we need to humble ourselves is because convenience too long brings the wrong attitude. I'm going to say that again. Convenience too long brings the wrong attitude. The air went out of my house, and my wife, she has eczema, so, she's like, when it gets too hot. But protocol is, Harris is my friend. You don't call Harris, tell him to look at the air. That's my job. And I say, it's late, so I'll tell Harris the next day. She goes, it's too hot. I'm going to call Harris, and we need the air done. And I said, one time I said it, I'm going to try to say it, I said, well, Mama, we's in Africa. There's some people in Africa, they don't have air, they don't have anything. We can't get so where we don't have our conveniences. We get the wrong attitude and say, I got to have this, got to have. We can go to certain countries, they don't have clean water.
That's right.
Yeah.
So whatever we go through, we tell the Lord thank you. We keep the right attitude, and we can make it through every season. We can make it through every situation with the right attitude. We talked about an exhorter. An exhorter, it could be an event right after 9/11. An exhorter said, well, this is the day the Lord has made. Even though I don't feel like it, they're able to bring the best out of a worse situation and change your focus, change your perspective, change your attitude. You know what? I could be dead. Thank you, Lord. In my closing, revival had to start with Jonah. Jonah had to get in the belly of hell to realize what was important. He had to get his attitude right so he could obey God. Him obeying God was the salvation of 120,000 people. Please hear me when I say this. We have engaged in a lot of different things. We went on the streets and stopped the violence, and that was cool. We did the worship under the stars, where different churches came together and we worshiped the Lord. That was cool. We went out and we went to the mission, and we fed the brothers from the mission, and it felt good to cook for the brothers and serve them. That was a blessing. But I believe God was building us up to get to a place to where we would totally trust Him for the salvation of the Northeast area or wherever He sends us. And the wrong attitude will bring divisions. The wrong attitude would hinder the move of God. And beloved, I've never been so more sober in my life. Tonight they're going to ask us, the leaders, why are you doing this? I'm doing this because I understand that I need the Lord. I'm not one of them dudes that's God is just conceptual to me. I've read some stories about it. I've walked with God. God has performed miracles in my life. He had to raise my flesh back from the dead because I allowed sickness and disease to cut my life short. I shouldn't even have children, but God told me, well, I should be sterile. And God healed me from divers diseases. God, I was in a beret of bullets from 18th and Pandero. God shielded me because He had a purpose and a plan for my life. And I'm not one of the dudes to say, I know God is good all the time. I know God is real. And you can't go from going to Cheesecake Factory and then start eating McDonald's and say, oh, this is good. No, I'm used to eating at the Cheesecake Factory. I'm used to walking with the Lord and He walks with me. I'm used to communing with the Lord and He's done miracles and it's His hand in my life. And the place where I'm at now is not cool. In my closing, I just told my wife, it comes a place where you got to come out from among people and be separate. Because people will try to convince you that their situations is greater than the God we serve. And all that stuff will be all up in your head and before you know, start robbing your faith. But maybe He can't do it. And maybe y'all can't bring it out. But let me tell you, let me give you some information on this morning. I serve a God that can do anything but fail. I serve a God that will show mercy toward a wicked generation that deserves death. And He said, "I'm grant them mercy." And I have no business being in the way because of my attitude of someone else's breakthrough. Because maybe they don't know who the Lord is, but I know who God is.